Hey Internet, it's me. Now, as the title of this video suggested, I finally played Mario Kart World. I don't know if finally is the right word. I wasn't like dying to play it. It didn't really look good, as I've made clear, but I played it nonetheless. No, I did not buy a Switch 2. I am standing firm that I do not need to buy that overpriced monstrosity of a console and the garbage games that are currently out for it at an inflated price with no physical copies. But a friend of mine bought a Switch 2 and has Mario Kart World and invited a bunch of us over to try it out, so I did. And I want to talk about it. Now, let me do some positive things first. It's going to take me a minute. The idea of racing from one track to another is kind of cool and fun when you play it for the first time. Like, it's a unique idea to finish the track and then take off right from the end of the track to the next track. You know, it's kind of interesting. The problem is, it happens all the time. It always happens. So 90% of the time, you don't get to play more than one lap of a track. You know, every time you do one of the cups, the GPs, whatever you want to call it, you only get 3 laps on the first track. All the other tracks, the first 2 laps are driving to it, the third lap is on the track itself. So right off the bat, just going through single-player, GP, story mode, whatever, you only experience 3 laps on 1 out of every 4 courses. So that's a bit dumb. And then if you go to Versus mode, this was a big thing I was worried about, because Versus mode is what people play, like pretty much exclusively. You know, it's not... GP is just to get the trophies once and unlock whatever you unlock through GP mode, and I'm going to talk about unlocks in a minute. But then after that, you never go back. You never do it again. Once you have the gold trophies, that's it. It's done. You're over. You don't need to do that anymore. So, you know, whether that mode is each track 3 laps or the drive-through thing, it doesn't really matter because no one's doing it again. Like, that was a lot of effort to change something that does not matter at all. But when you go into Versus mode and you want to select a track, or you want to just put it on shuffle and just have it randomly pick tracks for you, they consider each variation of driving to a track as a track. So, for example, let me make that more clear. Let's say you have, you know, I don't know, Super Mario Circuit, and then from Super Mario Circuit, you drive to Toad's Turnpike. Or you could start at Peach's Castle, and then from Peach's Castle you could drive to Toad's Turnpike. So that's 3 levels that you have. You have Mario Circuit, Toad's Turnpike, Peach's Castle. But as far as this game is concerned, it also considers the drive from Mario Circuit to Toad's Turnpike and the drive from Peach's Castle to Toad's Turnpike as tracks. Which means even though you only have 3 tracks, the game considers 5. And so when you do shuffle, you might get one of those 2 where you're only doing 1 lap of the track that you want, and the other 2 laps are just driving through, you know, highways and straight stretches of desert and whatever else between the 2 tracks. That's stupid. I'm trying to race with my friends. I want to play on these tracks. The whole thing that makes Mario Kart appealing is, you know, the tight controls and the good technical corners and just how well constructed these tracks are. This big, stupid, open in-between section is not fun to race on, it's not fun to drive on, and I don't want those mixed in with my tracks. And there isn't an option currently, if you put it under shuffle, or if you go into an online lobby and join other people, to exclude the nonsense and to just have actual tracks. So, unless you want to choose every single time for every single track, you're gonna get some of the BS ones with the lead-up instead of just playing track. Now, I know they're doing this to artificially inflate the track count, because otherwise, this game has like a quarter of the tracks that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe did. So it is a massive downgrade. But it still feels like a massive downgrade because you don't get to play on fun tracks. So, I don't know, it's just absolute garbage. I don't like that at all. It was a very dumb decision on their part. It once again just really reinforces with me that the people that make decisions at game companies don't actually play video games. Because no one would play this and think, oh, this is fun. I'm so glad to be doing this long, obnoxious straightaway and then only getting one lap on the actual course part. No one would do that. No one that's ever played and enjoyed Mario Kart would do that. Maybe an absolute idiot would, but no one with a brain would think that. But let me get off that particular soapbox and talk about some of the other stuff. They added some new features like wall riding and rail grinding and the ability to basically squat on your cart, charge that up, and then do a little hop. And that's usually how you get onto a rail or a wall. It's great in theory. In practice, it's kind of annoying to pull off, at least at first. I'm sure if you play more and more, you get used to it more and more, and it becomes kind of second nature. But you have to learn the tracks ahead of time. Like, your first time playing, you're not going to be able to pull this off, because you aren't going to know when to start charging so that you can make an upcoming wall ride or rail or whatever. But the main problem with these features isn't the ease of pulling them off, it's that they kind of break the game. When you go online, there's already videos out there of all sorts of people finding little ways where they wall rode up, got onto some weird platform, jumped off the platform at a strange angle, and wall rode another bit, landed somewhere else, and basically they were able to cut off half an entire race. Back in Nintendo 64 and Mario Kart 64, where you could jump the wall in Wario Stadium if you jumped at just the right angle at just the right time, and it allowed you to skip the first, third of that track. If you were able to pull that off and, glitch your way over that wall, you couldn't possibly lose because you got such a major advantage. You've skipped so much of the track that no amount of rubber banding for the NPCs could ever let them catch up to you. You were just going to win. It was basically a cheat. That's what they're discovering here, but on a number of these tracks. It's because they went with this open world concept and the idea of just riding on every surface for no reason. No one asked for that. They broke their own game. There's no... People are always going to boundary break if you give them 3D traversal. People are they're going to see where they can go. And, in an action platformer, like a Mario 64 or something like that, that's fine, If you can wall jump up to the very top of Peach's Castle and complete Mario 64 in under 3 minutes, awesome, great, you found a cool glitch, you did a fun thing, good for you, that's no problem. Mario Kart is a competitive game. Very few people play this one player. You either play couch co-op with your friends or you play online, multiplayer. So, having these kinds of essentially game-breaking bugs where you can just skip half a race, it completely destroys the competition. I know you're technically not breaking the rules of the game, but you're really breaking the spirit of the game. And it's going to suck the fun out of it for a lot of people. And it's not like you can do anything about that in a lobby or anything. If you're playing online against someone and they pull off this weird, intricate jump trick thing that they figured out how to do, you can't ban them for that. They didn't break a rule. They didn't mod the game. They're not using hacks. They didn't do anything wrong. They're just playing the game in a way that the game was programmed to allow them to. It just happens to destroy the experience. So that's just what online play is going to be now. You're going to have the people that figured out how to do these weird, cheaty little glitch traversals and shortcuts through half the race. And then you're going to have everyone else who has no chance of ever coming in first. And it's going to frustrate the hell out of your fan base, and people are just going to stop playing. So, good move introducing that. Your track list sucks, and your new features are also garbage. But let's talk about what else is new. The open world. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I know some people are going to say, oh my god, I have so much fun driving around exploring the world. Yeah, good for you. But no. It's not... No. See... Okay, now I'm going to talk about the unlockable thing, and then I'm going to tie it into the world thing, and you'll understand what I'm saying. In this game, if you want to unlock Donkey Kong, you have to beat the Mushroom Cup in a race, and then you beat the cup, and then you get a new character. Same for Daisy's in, I think it's the Flower Cup, etc. The problem is, after you get the cup characters, The rest of the characters that you want to unlock, and the character roster in this game is absolutely stupid, by the way. It's a bunch of B and C budget Mario NPC background enemy characters you've never thought about or cared about for more than half a second. There's no way that getting rid of the Koopa Kids and Link and Isabelle and the Inkling and the Villager and all these other characters is somehow worth gaining the Dolphin from, the water levels in Mario Sunshine. Like, that's so dumb. But if you wanted to unlock those stupid characters for no reason at all, the way you do that is you play in a race, and someone else, an opponent in that race, has to get the Kamek power-up. It is a very rare power-up. It doesn't show up all the time. But if they get that power-up, you have to then be ahead of that person, and they have to use it, and it has to transform you into one of the unlockable characters. And if it does, you now unlock that character. If it doesn't transform you into one of the characters you want, if it just has some other effect, or if you're behind that player, or if no computer player gets the Kamek power-up, you just can't get the character. There's nothing you can actively do to unlock the character. That's the problem here. It's all chance. It's basically a gachapon now. Mario Kart World is essentially a mobile game where everything you want to unlock just comes down to chance. You might unlock it, you might not. Who knows? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And they also have costumes now. Every character, you can play as that character, and there are drive-thrus all around the map. And if you see that drive-thru, and you drive through it, your character will pick up a meal as a power-up. And if you use that meal, it doesn't actually give you any kind of power-up or effect. It just changes the costume of your character. And if you didn't have that one before, you now have that character with that costume unlocked. Good for you. The problem is you have to hit each of these drive-thrus with each of your characters, or at least each of the ones that gets a costume from that restaurant, because of course they don't all. That's the only way you can get all of them, is to basically just spam your way through over and over with every character. So, it's redundant and time-consuming, but it's not a challenge, it's not fun, and you're not going to feel like you accomplished anything by doing it. But back to the open world concept, the open world has challenges on it. There are large peach coins to find, and there are P-blocks, or P-switches rather, that when you hit one, it gives you a challenge to complete. And if you complete that challenge, you don't unlock a costume, or a new character, or a new cart, or anything like that. You get a sticker. And you can then put that sticker on your profile page. That's it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't improve your game. It doesn't affect your experience in any way whatsoever. You just have a dumb little sticker. Now, if anyone with half a brain who had ever played a video game before were working on this game, they'd say, hey, we need to motivate people to use our open world system. We want them to traverse this world and go from corner to corner and give them a reason to do it. So why not, in these challenges that we've already implemented, that already exist, why not have those challenges unlock characters and costumes? That way, everyone's going to play this mode because they want to unlock the costumes and characters. Nintendo doesn't have achievements because they're like Apple. They refuse to do what other companies are doing until a decade later, and then they'll claim they're innovators. Video chat, group chat, But, yeah, so instead of, having an achievement that pops when you get 50% of all the P-switches or 100% of all the P-switch challenges or whatever, you just end up with all the stickers. There's no achievement, there's no unlockables, there's no anything. It's just stickers. And I don't understand this game. I don't know what they were trying to do. It feels like they wanted to make it different just for the sake of being different. None of what they did feels like an improvement. The mechanic of doing a squat and then jumping onto the wall or the rail, no one needed that. You could drift around corners to get a boost, and if you got really good, you could do a little snake where you're drifting back and forth on a straightaway to get a boost. That was fine. That was that gave people the advantage if they were good enough to pull off these moves. That was all we needed. We didn't need wall riding and rail grinding. No one asked for that. I mean, at the end of the day, some people saw it and they're like, oh, this is a fun new thing. But if it wasn't there, no one would have said, oh man, I'm not going to play this game because it doesn't have wall riding. So no one asked for that. The open world concept. Okay, cool. You played Forza Horizon one time. But no one asked for that either. Like, it's not something that anyone ever specifically asked for or wanted ahead of time. And in fact, it does take away from the game. Because, now that you have this big world and it has to feel like a big cohesive world, you can't include the crossovers and the weird stuff. We don't have Hyrule Castle. We don't have all the shrunken levels like Ribbon Road or that bathroom one. We don't have any of that because there's nowhere to put it. There's no way to make it feel like part of this world. And that's a huge shortcoming of this game, is they can't implement a lot of the stuff that we already liked. And they've kind of kneecapped themselves. So again, it feels like they made that change just to make a change, not to improve the game. The roster. It looks like you have a massive roster now. In reality, you don't. It probably has the same amount of characters, if you're able to unlock them all, as Mario Kart 8. The only reason it looks inflated is because now they all have 100 costumes. And the problem is, in your character select screen, you have to scroll through multiple screens to see everything anyway. It's not on one concise screen anymore like it was in Mario Kart 8 and pretty much every previous game. So again, they made a change just to make a change. It's not an improvement. In fact, it takes longer to find and choose your character now. So, everything in this game, I can now say for certain, as someone that's played it, just feels worse than it did before. Nothing is an improvement, nothing is an upgrade, nothing is better. It's just different. But I don't want different. No one wanted different. Mario Kart 8 was perfect. The controls were perfect. The levels were incredibly well designed. There was a huge roster of characters and karts to choose from. Everything was fine. We all enjoyed that. The only thing we wanted from Mario Kart 9, or I think this would actually be 10 because numbering is hard, was just more. That's all we wanted. Take the thing that already works, that we already love, and just give us more of it. Do some more crossovers. Give us some more characters and levels we weren't expecting. Give us an even bigger level count. Create this new game, and then after you hit a certain point, you finish all the GPs on 150 or whatever, you unlock the levels for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 96 new levels right off the bat. If you were to do that, where you have a base roster of 24 levels, and then you add 96 more, that would be worth $80. The game we have now? Absolutely not. Honestly, the $50 extra you pay to get the digital version in the bundle with the console still probably isn't worth the money. It's not a $50. This is a $30 game at most. Because it feels like a knockoff of Mario Kart 8. It feels like, hey, we want to be Mario Kart, but we don't quite understand what makes you like the game, so we're just going to try a bunch of crap and see if any of it sticks. And spoiler alert, it doesn't. So, yeah. If you were on the fence about getting Mario Kart World and a Switch 2, don't. Just don't. And if you want to get a Switch 2 maybe later on when there's games for it, I guess you could, but that's a stupid idea too, because they're all going to be digital, so when the servers go offline, you're not going to have any of those games. But, yeah, I don't know. Right now, it's garbage. Yeah, you're playing a kart racer, it's fine, but Lego Racers on the N64 was fine. Crash Team Racing is fine. Diddy Kong Racing is fine. You already have a million options for a fine kart racer. The new Sonic one looks like it might actually be more than fine, even though the controls on the Sonic racing games are always a bit so we'll see if they've tightened that up at all. Because if they have, let me tell you, that'll be a Mario Kart killer. But if you want a great kart racing experience, the answer is still Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's not Mario Kart World. That game is nowhere near as good as what you already have that you can get for half the price. It's not worth it. And I don't see it being worth it. Because DLC might add some more courses, but unless they drastically overhaul all the mechanics of the game and just everything about what they've introduced, it's not going to be worth it. It's still a bad, broken, half-assed game. So yeah, just skip it. That's my review. Sorry to be a downer, but Nintendo keeps dropping the ball every chance they get. So if you see a title of a Nintendo game in my video title, chances are it's not going to be good news, because everyone there sucks. Okay, bye.